Hello everyone, this is Rose Gold, and today I'm starting a new What If series from Naruto actually. What if Naruto was an Otsutsuki? Now this is not my idea, and there have been multiple people who have made this, Blue Fang, Anime X, etc. But this will be my personal take on the story. And I want to thank you all for the massive support on the end of the What If Naruto was an Uchiha series. I had a lot of fun making it, and seeing the movie doing so well makes me smile while writing this. I'm going to make this short. Only 14% of the people who watch these videos subscribe, so you should subscribe if you haven't. Boom. Now let us get straight into part 1 of What If Naruto Was no Otsutsuki. We go back 45 years as a thing flying toward Earth at incredible speeds was slowly approaching, or fastly approaching actually. It was Hakuro Otsutsuki who was sent to Earth to look for Kaguya, who had not been seen since she had gone to Earth to collect the fruit. Now this Otsutsuki had already eaten one of these fruits, having awakened something similar to the Rinnegan but in both eyes, not a third eye. But as he touched it on the ground, he looked around, seeing Earthlings. He sighed, seeing how Kage had failed, so he flew to destroy what she had not. But a group of two, who had been searching for tailed beasts, had come upon him, these being the gods of Shinobi, Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha, in their complete prime. As Sakura had zero skill in battle as he had never fought before, he was defeated by the two, who didn't think too much of it and the world going seemingly as normal. But in the Leaf Village, and now past that, Hakura was laying on the ground with several wounds, getting treated by a brown-haired woman, who had been doing her best to save him. This woman was known as one of the two Woodslaw users, but her name was Sara Senju, who was the cousin of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. As though Otsutsuki finally woke up, Sarah asked him, "What happened to you? I had to treat those wounds for 4 damn days." Hakuro Otsutsuki was shocked at such kindness from a normal Earthling, but still didn't think too much of it until he spent more time with her, getting more and more close, until 23 years later the two birthed the child, Naruto Otsutsuki. But something else happened. Another child was born to the current Hokage, Minato Nabekaze, and his wife Kushino Uzumaki. Their son, who was named Jiraiya Uzumaki after Minato's master, had died alongside his parents because of the Nine Tails attack, and Obito was able to suck Minato into the Kamui dimension, and Minato didn't lay a mark anywhere, so he was stuck inside the dimension. Now this angered Hakuro greatly. Sorry, he had been a massive supporter of Minato, and seeing him die to such a minuscule power, he almost killed Obito in battle and sealed the full Nine Tails into his son, as he knew this would be what Minato would have wanted, to protect the Nine Tails' power. But as their child was born, Sar died due to childbirth issues. Hakura, who had seen such terrible things today, saw his child as the only one deserving of his power, as he himself couldn't even save his own wife. So after giving Naruto all of his chakra, he peacefully passed away alongside his wife. This was a massive blow for the Leaf, as they had lost their last Woodstock user and Hokage, so the hate toward Naruto was higher than ever before. He grew up hated since he was one, after his white skin had fully taken over. He used to only have white hands when he was young, but now he full on looked like an Otsutsuki, which made them think he was even weirder and more of a monster, but they of course didn't know that this child is the most powerful ninja the world will see for a good while. When Naruto was kicked out of an orphanage after looking for some food, his anger and sadness was great enough to let him awaken the Sharingan after so much trauma, which was the first step to the full power of his father, as the chakra he had given him was sealed into him, slowly seeping out, as he got more and more powerful. When he got into the academy, the only ones who even looked at him were Shikamaru, who had never really had anything against him, Sasuke, who saw him as a rival, and Hinata, who always had a big crush on him, after he had saved her from some bullies a long time ago. Now Naruto wasn't as hot-headed and stupid in this, so he had studied a very high amount, learning many things in the process, interesting a certain individual greatly. So Naruto was still the worst in his class because he lacked the drive to be good in the academy, as he was always more focused on the training he did back at home. Until one day, when Naruto finally had the chance to become a Genin, it was all taken away because of the jutsu listed. The clone jutsu, which he had massive trouble with because even now his chakra control was terrible, because of the full power of the Nine Tails still, as it was the full Nine Tails. And Naruto was of course still like a mini skill, like mini skill power to him. And then even if he was an Otsutsuki. So when Mitsuki told him about the scroll of sealing, he instantly took the opportunity, and those events went seemingly normal, just that Mitsuko was beaten up a ton worse. When the teams were chosen, they were all like the original, so Team 7 was still Sakura, Sasuke, and of course the main character, Naruto Otsutsuki. As he had never shown his Sharingan, Sasuke had no reason to think too much of him, but he could see the power in Naruto, so while he didn't want to say it, he was almost jealous of him because Sasuke always wanted to be the strongest, so he could defeat Itachi for the good of everyone and for revenge. As Kakashi walked in, Naruto greeted him pretty professionally, surprising the sensei by a good amount, who then told them all to come up to the roof. Now, Sakura and Sasuke's goals stayed the exact same, but Naruto's had some changes in wording and general meaning. I want to become strong. Strong enough to become the Hokage and save everyone from anything. I don't want people to acknowledge me. The second partner was smoking quietly enough for only Kakashi to hear, but who nodded and told them, "You're all boring." They were definitely shocked, but Naruto snickered a bit, which made Kakashi smile. Under his mask, telling them to come to the third training grounds early for their first test. As Team 7 arrived right on time, they had to wait for a good few hours for Kakashi to arrive, who gave them the excuse that he had gotten lost on the path of life. After Naruto told him that was just a gigantic lie, he smiled once more and went on to explain the belt test. Now, in this test, you're required to take one of these belts. He showed them the two belts. Sakura of course, raised her hands, and Kakashi asked, "What is it?" "Well, why are there only two belts?" Kakashi replied with, "The person who does not get a belt will be sent back to the academy and will not get any lunch." This was terrible for Naruto, who hadn't eaten anything for the last day or so, now being more determined than ever. After explaining everything, Kakashi counted down from 5, and after he spoke the word 0, they all disappeared instantly, and Naruto smirked while hiding. Now I'll end the first part off right here, as I think it is a good cliffhanger. Tell me if you liked it in the comments. And of course, tell me if you liked it by liking the video. This is Rose Gold Anime, and I am out. Hello everyone, this is Rose Gold, and today we're getting into part 2 of What If Naruto Was an Otsutsuki. Now I hope you all enjoyed the last part, and I want to thank everyone, especially the new people that have subscribed, as it does really help out, and my last two videos have done stupidly well. Look at the first part. Now I'm going to keep this short, but only 10% of the people who watch these videos subscribe, so if you want to be PogChamp, then subscribe. But now let us get straight into part 2. We start this part off from Naruto's perspective, who was smirking at Kakashi. Seeing his sensei, he was very glad to have someone this strong, but something that he could not look past is the power gap between him and Kakashi. While it was way smaller than the original, it was enough for Kakashi to beat him in a fight with semi-effort, so he sent for Sasuke. After sensing him, he bludged over there at speeds rivaling even a high-ranked Chunin, surprising Sasuke greatly, who was shocked enough to not even complain about Naruto telling him what to do. As Naruto knew Sakura would never even speak to him, because she hated him even more than the original, Naruto made a shadow clone that transformed into Sasuke and told Sakura the plan. Sakura, of course, agreed, thinking this was the actual Sasuke until he poofed, but she just thought that Sasuke was even cooler than she thought. Getting the knowledge of the clone, Naruto gave Sasuke a thumbs up and jumped into the field, surprising Kakashi. When Naruto jumped out, he was fast enough to make Kakashi almost flinch, but he was still pretty sure that he could win. So as Naruto jumped at him, he blocked his attack, but he very much felt that attack. Well, he still blocked the attack, and he was a Jonin, so he didn't really feel it, but it almost frightened him. How was this child, who was the last in his class, at this level of power? And he's just 12 years old! When the hit got blocked, Naruto crossed his fingers into a plus shape, and as suddenly 300 clones surrounded Kakashi, who was stumped. A kid, 12 years old, who definitely looked a bit weird, but this power, was he even human? Well, we of course know that he really isn't, but Kakashi had no idea, and as the fight began, he pulled up his headband, revealing the Sharingan. Sasuke, of course, was confused at the sight of the Sharingan. It is an Uchiha dojutsu, so how does their teacher have it? This kind of angered him, but it could be easily brushed off. And that's what he did, following Naruto's plan. As Kakashi was busy fighting off the clones, actually having to put in some effort, Sasuke sneaked in fireballs when he could and tried to get closer to protect someone. When there was only one Naruto left, that Naruto smirked at Kakashi, who was confused. While Naruto had made a ton of shadow clones, he made a ton of them against Mizuki as well, so this wouldn't drain him too much. While Kakashi was still confused, he could hear clicking of bells. Sakura and Sasuke had went in and stole the bells at some point. And of course, Sakura gave them to Sasuke, but she kept the other one to herself, as her disdain for Naruto was not at all lifted, as she had thought it was Sasuke's plan all along. But she was still awestruck at the power she had seen. When Sakura walked past him, she whispered, "Freak," loud enough so he could hear it, which saddened him a bit, as he still had that mini crush on her like the original series. But Sasuke helped him up and actually gave him a pat on the back. Well, Sasuke was like the original. This power was so great that he couldn't help but respect a person who wielded such power at such an early age. Maybe he could help him with killing his brother sometime. After this, Kakashi had told them how they had passed and like the whole speech. Of course, Kakashi was a bit drained after this, so they didn't do as many missions, but he quickly recovered, so they still had their fair few of E-rank missions, which bored both Naruto and Sasuke greatly, especially when they had to find the same cat, which had gotten lost twice now. So they asked for a high ranked mission from the Okage after Kakashi decided that Naruto and Sasuke's potential were unused, and even wasted in these missions. And Sakura was there as well. When Hiruzen looked through the mission papers, he found a C rank mission that they could do, to which both Naruto and Sasuke avidly agreed. A C rank mission sounded a lot more interesting than E rank missions. When Tazuna walked in, he was almost too fearful to insult either Sasuke or Naruto, so he insulted Sakura, but telling her that her forward is longer than the triple B, which of course angered her, but also angered Naruto a bit. How dare this man insult one of his teammates? When Team 7 arrived, the journey began shortly, and that trip went pretty similar until Zabuza arrived. Naruto's sensing capabilities were pretty good in this because he had something similar to Six Path Sage Mode locked in his body, well, sealed. But it had seeped out the tiniest bit once, and even with that, he was still able to sense Zabuza and told everyone to duck when his sword came. So Kakashi still fought Zabuza and ended up in the water prison like usual, but when Naruto saw this, he got very angry. Seeing his sensei being humiliated by this disgusting creep in a water prison, he fully awakened his Sharingan to the two Tomoe, which made Sasuke grit his teeth. How would this boy, no, this thing, awakened the two Tomoe Sharingan? Naruto did not give a flying freak, so he flung himself towards Zabuza and started to fight. At the start, Zabuza laughed at the child attacking him, but when Naruto started to go all out, he was actually getting attacked very well. The Sharingan was truly amazing, so Naruto made 500 clones and started to beat up Zabuza all right bad, until the other pulled out his jutsu and destroyed them all with a few water dragons, knocking Naruto to the shore, where he was caught before hitting the ground by Kakashi, who had gotten out of the water prison, and Kakashi looked pissed. Now I'm going to end this part off right here. I hope you all enjoyed it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did, and maybe tell me in the comments whether or not you liked it. This was Rose Gold, and I am out. Hello everyone, this is Rose Gold, and today we're getting into part 3 of What If Naruto Was an Otsutsuki. Now, I've been trying to be more active over the last few days, and I've tried to upload every day, but right now I am writing slash recording this part on the 3rd, so I don't know how well part 2 will do, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now, of course, I gotta say this, so skip ahead if you don't like it, but only 10% of the people who watch these videos are subscribed, so if you want to be PogChamp, you should subscribe and like, and of course join the Discord to interact with me and the community. Now let's get straight into the video. As Kakashi stared at Zabuza, he was incredibly pissed, until Sanbon came flying through the sky. As an Anbu appeared, the Anbu told him how thankful they were that as they had been trying to catch Zabuza for a while and all that. Kakashi, who was pretty tired, let the Anbu go away with Zabuza's corpse in quotation marks. When they got to the house, the grandkid of Tazuna was still a bit of a prick, but even more to Naruto because of his appearance. But Naruto shrugged it off, knowing that this kid must have gone through something as well. Now we skip ahead a bit, and after Kakashi rested, he showed Team 7 the tree walking exercise, which they all jumped to. Now, like the original, Sakura easily passed this as she was amazing at chakra control even then. But Naruto and Sasuke were having some serious trouble. When Naruto got higher, he smirked at Sasuke, who would then try as hard as he could to go higher than even Naruto. And if he did, he smirked at Naruto, who then did the same. And that was the loop for a while, until they were both found sleeping at the trunk of their trees. Naruto's mark was a centimeter lower than Sasuke, which infuriated him, but after training so hard, he fell asleep shortly after Sasuke, and because he tried to play fair and have the same amount of time trained. When Naruto and Sasuke woke up, they instantly went inside to scoff down a ton of food, only to go back outside and train as much as they could. This is how it went for a few days until they both actually mastered the art of tree climbing. They were both still pretty whack at chakra control. After they completed their training, Naruto still had that meeting with Haku, but more importantly, he didn't oversleep. So he went with the team this time, but when he sensed danger at the house, he blitzed back at top speeds, instantly knocking out the two assassins out with a jutsu until dumping them into the water, then blitzing back, but not before giving the kids a thumbs up, with which Tazuna's grandson replied with his own thumbs up and even a smile. When Naruto caught up with the group once more, Sasuke was already midst battle with Haku, and Kakashi was already exchanging hands with Sabuza. Seeing Sasuke in danger, he couldn't help but blitz into Sasuke, where he was, to Sasuke's dismay. While Naruto was smarter, he still had the same hero instinct as Deku, causing him to almost instinctively try and save Sasuke. Now, the combo of them both was so powerful that the massively holding back Naruto and Sasuke were actually able to melt the ice with a combined fire attack. But Haku just decided to go all out, throwing Sandbun from every angle at Naruto. And like the original series, Sasuke saved him. When Naruto saw this, his rage was insurmountable. Both the still condemning his father's chakra and techniques and Kurama's chakra leaked out, boosting Naruto to a higher degree than ever seen before. And he actually took out Haku with one single punch. But he was still alive, and Naruto being Naruto, he stopped himself from killing him. Now, when Zabuza was about to get killed by the Chidori, Haku jumped into the way, taking it for him, of course, dying in the process. Naruto's emotions were unstable, and his anger was mounting, and when he shouted at Zabuza, the entire bridge was shaking just because of the power of that scream. How dare he not be sad at the student's death? Did he not care for Haku at all? Zabuza, however, was quiet, looking at Haku's body, then replying to Naruto with, "Your words cut deeper than any blade." Cut Zabuza crying. When Naruto saw the gangmaster, his anger was so great that not only did he give Zabuza a kunai, he went in there himself, with the nine-tailed chakra, well, a bit of the nine-tailed chakra activated, absolutely raiding the father ninja Gato ahead with him. Seeing where Zabuza had landed in the water, Naruto saluted until walking back to the group. When the bridge was completed, it was named the Great Naruto Bridge. And when they left, Naruto gave Inari one of his kunai, smiling at him, then waving goodbye. When Team 7 arrived back at their village, they claimed their reward, and Naruto started to train with Sasuke, and of course did their E and D rank missions. And of course, Sasuke had to get over his pride before he even trained, but that was pretty easy as he knew that he needed any power he could get, so everything was the same, except for that Naruto and Sasuke were way stronger, that Naruto had gained access to a tiny percentage of the power inside him. When Kakashi told them about the tuning exams, Naruto was very excited at the thought of becoming Chunin. So they were all even more excited when he had told them that they had a week to train before the exam officially begins because he had already entered them, which Naruto, Sasuke, and even Sakura used to train to the max. Sakura was fine with it as long as Sasuke was training near her, so her power increased by a good amount, actually learning some better chakra control and making her punches slightly stronger. Now, when the first exam began, it went seemingly as normal at first, but Naruto was able to figure out what they had to do in that exam and quickly activated his 2-tome Sharingan that he wasn't training much, so it wasn't at 3-tome yet. He then used to copy the hand movements of Sakura with and copied all the answers from her. When the final question was revealed, everyone was celebrating, as they had another week to train, which Team 7 of course used to their full advantage. Naruto was holding back a lot, but at full power, he rivaled even the power of a Jonin at 12. Now I'm going to end this part off right here. I hope you all enjoyed and drop a like, maybe subscribe and drop the comment. And of course, please join my Discord as I really like to talk with the people there. This was Rose Gold, and I am out. Hello, everyone. This is Rose Gold, and today we're getting into part 4, where Naruto was an Otsutsuki. So I am writing this part before part 3 even dropped. So I don't know how well it did, but judging by part 2, I want to once again thank you, but of course it needs to be done. Only about 12% of the people who watch these videos are subscribed, and if you want to be PogChamp, then you should subscribe. And of course, like and comment. But now let's get straight into part 4. Now we of course start off right before part 3 had ended. After training with Sasuke and Sakura for a good while, he was taking a break and going to the hot springs, meeting someone else there. A white-haired man was standing in the hot springs, looking through the tiniest gap to look at all the women over in the next bath, looking rather excited, and when one walked by, he flew back with a nosebleed. Naruto, seeing him, was still kind of the same, so he peeped a bit as well until they were both caught and slapped over the head by an old woman who had walked in for cleaning with a broom. Now, Jiraiya and Naruto were outside. Naruto was pretty curious about the man and then asked who he was, and Jiraiya replied with, "I am one of the three legendary Sani, Jiraiya." Naruto, having read a lot and had heard about him, but he found it pretty hilarious how pervy this legend was. Now Naruto wasn't the only one who was quite intrigued by the other. Jiraiya could sense very well and was awestruck at the power he had felt. This was the ninth Tenshinchurki, and Jiraiya, knowing his destiny, decided to take action. When Naruto asked Jiraiya to maybe train him, the other avidly agreed, deciding to take this weird-looking kid under his wing, so they started training. First, Jiraiya taught him how to walk on water, which proved to be quite difficult for the young boy. Naruto was like an Omega prodigy, so he was still able to master both this and the other thing. He had gotten access to the tiniest amount of Ninetales chakra and was now able to release it. If you want a representation of how much he could use, it was about as much as in the fight with Neji, or maybe a bit less. Now we're going to be skipping ahead to the middle of the Forest of Death, when Orochimaru tried to have one of his snakes eat Naruto while he was taking a leak. The snake was overwhelmed by a crap ton of shadow clones, but not until about where it happened in the original. But when Naruto saw Orochimaru hurting his teammates, he got access to more Ninetales chakra than ever before, and started to go ham, actually killing one of the snakes and hurting the other, causing Orochimaru to strengthen his seal as to prevent Naruto from becoming even more of a threat. Everything else in the forest went as usual, but that their speed was score was no better than the original, but not by as much as you might think. But Sasuke still gotten his curse mark. Now they had another week of training, which Naruto and Jiraiya used to train the summoning jutsu and to give him better access to the Ninetales chakra. But he still didn't master the summoning jutsu. So yeah, Kiba got freaking destroyed by Naruto, so we don't need to talk about that. But in the fight against Neji, Naruto was furious at how Neji humiliated Hinata, almost jumping in as to stop Neji from hurting her even more. But the Jonin were already there, making him sigh in relief, feeling confident at how well the preliminaries had gone. Of course, Sasuke destroyed his opponent, and Sakura still had that fight with Ino, which was kind of whack. So we'll just gloss over the training they had actually done before the finals. Sasuke was training with Kakashi learning the Chidori. Sakura was actually learning with Kurenai because she was actually a Genjutsu specialist in the series, so I don't want to waste that potential even more. And our boy Naruto was mastering the Rasengan, and well, not really mastering the Rasengan, he was trying to learn it, but he didn't have as much time because he was still perfecting the summoning jutsu, which he had now finally perfected actually. But he was, of course, nowhere near mastering the Rasengan as Jiraiya, and him still did some more chakra control, and the Nato's draining, of course. Jiraiya had actually removed the seal strengthening that Orochimaru had put on, so Naruto's power had an increase, well, in power as well. When the final rolled around, Naruto was ready to fight even more, excited than ever, and when Naruto realized who his next match was, he was ready to get revenge for Hinata Hyuga. Now you might have realized how Naruto has the Byakugan in the thumbnail. That is just a design choice, so it isn't going to be a Byakugan battle, but still a battle of dojutsu. When Neji and Naruto entered the ring, they both stared at each other. Neji, of course, was as cocky as he always was. My time, once again wasted on another failure. Truly a waste. This got Naruto even more angry. He dared insult Hinata in front of him. His eyes changed from their usual whitish blue to a blood red state that transformed in with two Tome into the three Tome Sharingan, actually finally awakening him. When Neji saw this, he was surprised but almost even more disgusted. Not only did he have to fight a failure, he had to fight a failure with the dojutsu of failures. And he voiced that opinion out loud, causing Naruto to get angrier and angrier, until releasing a tiny bit of the Untitled Chakra. The fight begins! Naruto is gone. As Neji looked around, he was awestruck as he saw small traces of Naruto's chakra jumping around at incredible speeds, until something was behind him, kicking him. Even with him not having a blind spot, he still got kicked into the wall, spitting out blood as Naruto stared at him with hate-filled eyes, until throwing Neji across the entire field. The audience was shocked at this display of power. The Hyuga prodigy easily defeated by the Jinchuriki failure that hadn't even used a single jutsu. When Naruto was finally not when Naruto finally knocked out Neji, he raised his hand in victory, smiling toward the audience. But as he was smiling toward one particular person, Hinata Hyuga, who blushed until smiling as well, then running away in embarrassment. But Naruto still smiled at the crowd. It was silent except for some claps, especially from the Jonins and, of course, the Genins. Of course, the two loudest being Rock Lee and Kai Sensei, who were screaming about how Naruto was the embodiment of the power of youth, and how impressed they were at his taijutsu, which made Naruto laugh until letting the matches continue. So like before, everything else went as normal until Gaara went into a starting to transform state, and the Genjutsu fell upon the crowd. This time Naruto was not caught in the Genjutsu as he was almost immune to it because he still had activated his Sharingan. So he went after Gaara and Sasuke, but he still took care of some of the crowd, which they even thanked him for. When Naruto caught up with them, the fight had gone as normal, so when Naruto saw Gaara hurting Sasuke even more, he flew at him, punching him right in the face, making him fly across the entire forest as Naruto's eyes were red with Tomoe. And also asleep, meaning that he still had his Sharingan activated and his Kubi Chakra as well. Of course, Gaara did not fly across the entire forest, I just mean like the portion of it, a good portion of it. When Gaara tried to hit him, Naruto dodged almost instantly, hitting him again, causing Gaara to get flung into the ground, creating an impact zone as he spat out blood. But he wasn't going to lose, so he transformed into the full One Tails, which had Naruto stumped. No matter how strong he truly was, he couldn't defeat a tail beast at 12. So he still had to summon Gamabunta, and that all went similar. Gaara getting Takno Jutsu'd and all. After the Chunin exams took place, the Tsunade arc went the exact same way, just that Itachi was surprised at Naruto's Sharingan. After these events took place, Sasuke was jealous of Naruto's powers, so when he finally woke up in hospital, he smacked away Sakura's apples and challenged Naruto to a battle, to which Naruto agreed as usual. When the fight began, Sasuke had the upper hand at first, as Naruto was holding back a ton. But when Naruto slowly stopped holding back bit by bit, Sasuke was overpowered until they tried to still do their Rasengan Chidori clash, which was stopped by Kakashi. Now this time Naruto's Rasengan still looked like the original, but the back of the water tower was so completely destroyed that they could see perfectly through the hole into the sky. Now I'm going to end this part off right here. I hope you all liked the video, maybe subscribe, and of course comment down in the description to interact with me. Also, of course, join the Discord in the description. This was Rose Gold, and I am out. Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This is Rose Gold, and today we're getting into part 5 of What If Naruto Was an Otsutsuki. Now, I know videos don't do as well as part 1, but the support is still amazing. I mean, we've almost hit 10,000, 10,000 viewers total, which is like amazing to me. So I will make a What If movie once I finish the series. Or once I finish the series, so I hope you all will enjoy that as well. Also, some more before video information. So I have a Twitter in the description and a Discord server. If everyone who watches these videos join, then we'd have like 50 members, and that'd be really cool. But let's continue. So only 12% of the people who watch this video subscribe, and only very little comments. So if you comment and subscribe, you would be PogChamp. And trust me, you want to be PogChamp. So we start off when Sasuke saw the impact of the Rasengan. He realized how weak he truly was, and sulked until Kakashi once again told him how revenge isn't the path to the truth. And all of that, but Kakashi was too late. One day, Sasuke was up in the middle of the night, thinking of how to surpass Naruto and his brother the quickest way possible, until four Sound Ninja came and told him about Orochimaru and how he needs to come with them to get stronger. At first, Sasuke fought them to prove his worth, but afterward, the group took him with them, and all that went the same. However, I will change up the Sasuke retrieval arc. Instead of Naruto coming along, it will be Neji, as I have something more important planned for him. Neji does not die here, but he gets seriously injured, and Sasuke escapes to Orochimaru's hideout. We switch to Naruto's perspective, who was sitting in front of Tsunade, who had noticed something rather incredible. Naruto seemed to be showing signs of wood release, which was a very rare thing in Naruto. And in this what if only two people were known to have used it, and in the original only one, Hashirama Senju, and in this what if, his cousin. So if this boy can use that, it would mean, could he be related to Tsunade? When Tsunade had asked Naruto to do what he had done before, he clapped his hands together, and a very small tree sprouted from the ground. This was an amazing discovery. Now to tell all of you who don't know how like strong wood release actually is, Yamato was seen as one of the Leaf's greatest assets, just because he could use a highly weaker version of Hashirama's wood style. And here we have an Otsutsuki performing wood style. This is not gonna end up well for any enemies Naruto was sent away to be. Sorry, this is not gonna end up well for any enemies that Naruto is going to face in the future. And Naruto was sent away to be trained by Jiraiya once more, as Tsunade had great trust in her teammate and ally to train this boy harder than ever. And after a day of training, Jiraiya went on a 3-year journey, taking Naruto with him. Naruto was training almost every day with Jiraiya, also of course performing their peeping ritual, which was shortly after by getting hit on the head in the hot springs. After 3 years, Naruto and Jiraiya finally returned. Naruto, of course, had his updated look. His whitish blue jumpsuit had been upgraded into a larger and one with a more stylish look, and his horns had grown. However, he still only had his however, he still had his whitish blue eyes. Also, he often covered his clothes with a cloak, but right now he only had his normal outfit on. When he got back, he was actually greeted by Sakura, who almost hugged him up on sight. After left, she realized what she had really done wrong and how judgmental she was, so she knew that she needed to somehow repay Naruto back for all his kindness. But first, they needed to visit the Hokage office, as Tsunade wanted to see him. As Naruto walked in, Tsunade greeted him cheerfully, with Jiraiya already standing there, having a conversation with her before the two entered. To Naruto's surprise, almost everyone is now Chunin, except for him. Yes, even while he is smarter and stronger in every way possible, Naruto was still a Genin. And Tsunade told him that they would be tested for their strength. Naruto was very happy when he sensed someone appearing on the roof. It was Kakashi Sensei, who would be doing the bell test with them once again. When Naruto saw him, he climbed upon the roof as well, handing him the thing that Kakashi holds most dear to his heart, a signed copy of the Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi that Jiraiya had given Naruto's early access. Now Kakashi left immediately, but not before telling them when to arrive, as he very much wanted to start reading the book already. When Naruto and Sakura arrived on the field, Kakashi actually wasn't late. Knowing how much stronger Naruto must have gotten, he actually put away his book, pulling up his headband, revealing his Sharingan once more. Go! Naruto flung at Kakashi, this time with a punch that Kakashi actually let hit him, as to see what his power would be around now. This was a gigantic mistake, as he got flung across the field by Naruto's singular punch. Naruto had gotten an incredible boost in power as he had learned how to access some of his sealed power. Of course, I want to give some background information, or just some general information. His father's chakra was still reproducing, as its natural and general power could not die, and because it was still inside a living body, it was similar to a tailed beast. So the father's chakra would never deplete, or if it does deplete, it would just regenerate over time. When Kakashi stood up, the arm had gotten hit showed sign that arm that had gotten hit showed signs of good damage. Kakashi smirked under his mask at how strong his student had gotten, but he was fearful of Sakura's punching strength as well, as he was trained by Tsunade. So he focused more on staying away from her, thinking that she might even be stronger than Naruto, which was just blatantly wrong. As Naruto flew at him with such speed that Kakashi's Sharingan could not keep up, and he almost got a bell, but Kakashi jolted back in shock, causing him to move the tiniest bit, which made Naruto fly into the ground face first. Hey! Naruto shouted, laughing. Kakashi turned around to Naruto, who was getting up again, letting chakra flow through his body calmly. Slowly, his chakra pull increased as he stopped holding back a tiny bit, blitzing Kakashi and taking both the belts. Kakashi was shocked as Naruto gave one to Sakura, in complete opposite as to what she had done in the belt test when they were becoming Genin. Kakashi had never been this proud of his students. Now I get into the Kazikage Rescue Arc. Most of it went like normal until the fight with the Clay clone. Releasing a tiny bit of the Ninetales chakra and letting go even more, he destroyed the clone instantly, and easily sensed for the original, which was with Gaara's body, which Naruto blitzed toward at his highest speed, throwing Deidara away and rescuing Gaara, who was already dead. As he was still his tail piece was still stolen from him. Of course, the rest of that arc went as normal, and Gaara was revived. Just that Naruto helped Sakura against Sasori, making the fight a ton easier as Naruto's power was incredible, and he learned more jutsu in general. When Naruto met Sai for the first time, he was rather disappointed at this replacement for Sasuke. He had always had a connection with Sasuke, but with Sai, it was just shallow. So when they met Orochimaru and Sasuke afterward on the bridge, Naruto's anger once again overtook him, going from the Five Tails form not just the going to the into the Five Tails form, not just the Four Tails, and proceeding to destroy Orochimaru. He was able to get away by faking his death, but he was still awestruck at the power of this Jinchuriki. When Naruto learned about Azuma's death, he went over to Shikamaru's place as to cheer him up, and this helped Shikamaru a lot. And Naruto actually offered to train Shikamaru, which the other accepted so he could get revenge for his master. But he could only train for about a day, as Naruto was now once more getting trained by Kakashi, so he could master and develop a new jutsu that could defeat even the most powerful of enemies. The Rasen Shuriken would be developed in part 6. Now, I hope you all enjoyed this part. I definitely enjoyed writing it, and I tried to go a bit faster so this series isn't a million parts long. Of course, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. This was Rose Gold, and I am out. Hello everyone, this is Rose Gold, and today we're getting into part 6 of What If Naruto Was an Otsutsuki. Before you do anything, of course go into the description, follow me on Twitter, and join the Discord. Now as always, I want to once again thank you for all the support this channel has gotten over the past few days. I went from 163 subscribers to 200 something, which is crazy to me. So thank you all very much. But of course I always do this, so skip ahead if you don't like this. But only 11% of the people who watch these videos are subscribed, and if you want to be PogChamp, then you should subscribe as well. But now let's get straight into part 6. What if Naruto was an Otsutsuki? Now we start where part 5 ended off. Naruto was starting training with Kakashi and Yamato, who were there as a small help for the prodigy Otsutsuki, as he can master the Rasengan's power and even master it fully into a new jutsu. Now, as Naruto is an Otsutsuki, and his chakra control is in general like better than it was in the original, this wasn't as hard. But it still took him around 1.5 weeks, so he actually had some free time this time, which he used to try and talk to Hinata a bit, which kind of worked out, but also not. She just passed out in embarrassment most of the time, but Naruto just smiled, laughed a little, turned around, and went back home, and just to do some general small training until the date of the fight finally rolled around. As Shikamaru was dealing with Hidan, Naruto cracked his knuckles at the sight of Kakuzu. Naruto formed his hands into a plus shape, making two clones who all put their hands together. First a normal Rasengan form, but then with the wind chakra, made it look more whitish until finally the shuriken started to form. And once it was complete, Kakuzu was astounded at the jutsu he was seeing. Kakuzu had already transformed against Kakashi and the others, so the only thing Naruto now had to do was hit. And that's exactly what he did. The Otsutsuki jumped into the air as high as he could, then flew at him with the Rasen Shuriken, which once it hit, destroyed Kakuzu on a cellular level, leaving him only a husk of his original power, now dead. Shikamaru was doing very well against Hidan until luring him into the trap. Today, they had gotten rid of two Akatsuki members, which meant two big threats gone from the ninja world. Now, once Naruto had gotten his victory and tried to celebrate with Sakura, on them both having gotten rid of the Akatsuki in the last few months or so, a terrible message awaited Naruto. As he walked into the Hokage office, there stood a small toad with wrinkles and hair indicating that it was very old. Once the toad saw Naruto, he sighed, knowing what is about to come to this young boy. Looking at Tsunade, the Hokage nodded at the sage creature, who then spoke up. Naruto boy, I, I know we have terrible news for you. Jiraiya boy has perished mid-battle. Naruto was shell-shocked to hear this. Laughing, Naruto said, Alright, enough of this joke. What actually happened? Expecting Jiraiya to come out any second now, but the look on all of their faces told Naruto everything he needed to know. His master has died in the midst of battle. Naruto walked out not saying a word, not criticizing Tsunade and how she could have prevented this, or even screaming in general. He was just silent, and as he walked out, drops could be heard on the floor every odd second. Naruto just wanted to be alone, but the person that he had helped out in a time of need was now there to help him. Shikamaru was at his window, knocking to come in. Naruto's pale face looked up, and opened the window to let him in, and they both talked about their senseis, and Shikamaru, after showing him Kurenai, who was pregnant with Asuma's baby, said, It is time for us to become the ninja. It is time for us to become the entrusted, so we'll have to train like hell. If we want to become super cool ninja like Jiraiya and Asuma, that is. Naruto smiled for the first time in a good day or so. When Naruto, Shikamaru, and the other woman finally cracked the code of the message, they were left confused. The real one is not amongst them. However, Naruto did not have as much time to think as he wanted to have, as he now needed to start training, just like Shikamaru said, and become a Sage Moon Master. When the training began, Fukasaku was very surprised when he sensed an energy in Naruto. It was an energy similar to those told in legends of one of the great sages, but they had no time to dwell on it, as Pain was surely on his way to destroy the Konoha and finally get revenge on the Leaf Village, so they started training immediately. At first, Naruto mastered Sage Oil Enhanced, assisted Sage Mode, but that wouldn't really work for him, as told the oil evaporates when you're not in Mount Miyaboku. So after a while of training, he had fully mastered the art of Sage Mode and become one of the very little amount of people who had learned Sage Mode in general. When Naruto finally returned to the Leaf Village, the only thing he could hear was Sakura screaming his name, as their entire village was destroyed, giving Naruto a new motivation, not just to revenge his master, but to get revenge for his village. As Naruto appeared with his toads, the fight almost instantly began, as Naruto entered his Sage Mode and instantly blitzed and wiped out both the human and animal path, as fast as possible for him, surprising Pain as Naruto stared at the Diva path, his eyes having a slit in them, giving his eyes the look that they had in KCM2 Sage Mode, as he had enough of this. His anger was great enough to go into QB Chakra mode as well. Well, not QB Chakra mode, I meant just general QB Chakra. The Naraka path was wiped out. The Asura path was wiped out. And even the Preda path was not wiped out. Naruto's rage was uncontrollable, causing Pain to outmaneuver him rather easily as his movements were erratic, and trap him to the ground with chakra rods. When Naruto told him how disgusting he was, he asked how else to achieve true peace, but Naruto had no answer, only telling him that this way was just wrong, which could not at all convince Pain to stop. However, one person ran to his defense. Hinata Yuga, who had activated her own jutsu, the Lion Twin Fists. had come to help him, breaking even some of the chakra rods, until the diva picked her up and threw her into the ground with Chibaku Tensei, killing her in the process. Anger. Naruto could not feel any emotion except for anger as his skin tore off, Kyuubi chakra revealing itself underneath, enveloping his body, going into his seven-tailed form and starting to fight Pain, who was overpowered almost instantly and torn apart by Naruto, whose anger and feeling of loss caused him to not let the Diva Path die like that. He made it suffer for all the pain he had caused Naruto himself. When Naruto finally wiped out the Diva Path, his anger was still uncontrollable, and he almost let the complete Nine Tails loose, but a hand stopped him. Hakuro Otsutsuki was standing in front of him, smiling. He was finally able to meet his son, who had sacrificed his life, for pulling him into a hug to which Naruto reciprocated. After a short conversation, Hakuro Otsutsuki was finally able to move on into the afterlife, as he had finally seen his proudest and biggest achievement, his son. When Naruto was back in his human form, he sat down, wiping away a tear, until picking up a chakra rod, stabbing it into himself, activating Sage Mode, now having finally sensed the one that had caused all this pain. After Naruto had arrived at the tree, he entered in, surprising both Nagato and Kono greatly. Seeing Nagato, Naruto just said, I, I am holding back my rage, my fury. Give me the reason as to why you commit such atrocities. Nagato complied, telling Naruto his story, but Naruto had finally found an answer to the question that he got that Pain had asked him so long ago. Then I'll end this curse. If there is such a thing as peace, then I shall grasp it. I'll never give up. Nagato realized where that line truly came from, and Naruto held up the book Jiraiya had given him so long ago, telling Pain that he will achieve that true peace, which caused Nagato to even smile shortly, until clapping his hands together. I, I shall believe in you then. Nagato performed the rune rebirth, causing every soul that was taken from the leaf by him to be restored. Now I'm going to end this part off right here. I hope you all enjoyed. I tried to really give this some oomph in terms of writing. This is Rose Gold, and I am out. Hello everyone, this is Rose Gold, and today we're getting into part 7 of What If Naruto Wasn't Otsutsuki. Now, as always, I want to once more thank you for the support, as it's been absolutely mental. I've gotten about 9 to 11 subs per day, which compared to the usual 2 per day, is an absolute, it's like gigantic. So thank you very much. But only 14% of the people who watch this video subscribe, and if very little comments. So if you want to be punctured, then you better subscribe, join the Discord, and follow me on Twitter. Try to go as fast as I could there. But now, let's get straight into part 7. So like always, we start off where part 6 ended. After Naruto spoke to Nagato, he went back to his village, running to Hinata and hugging her, giving her a big thank you for saving him, which caused her to quickly pass out again, but this time she was smiling, so Naruto just set her down on some more comfortable ground until walking toward Kakashi, Sakura, and even Sai, pulling them all into a crushing hug as well, but most people looked like they were getting squished, because they were, until we let them go, but they all smiled. But when everyone saw Naruto, all the villagers ran toward him. Konohamaru and his gang were running to hug him, but the others just stood back. All of them cheered for their savior, but at least 15% scoffed and were silent, not saying anything, even booing him. Naruto's general Otsutsuki appearance made those 15% not at all care for him, about him in general, but Naruto did not care, only raising his hand shouting, I did it! And the 58%, 85% of the villagers shouted in surprise, happiness, and started to cheer for their new hero. Now we get to the 5 Kage summon. As multiple Jinchurikis have been disappearing around the villages, and they all knew that it was the Akatsuki behind it. But all of that went similar, if not exactly like normal, as Naruto did not have any influence over that part of the story. But Naruto did in fact have something else to do. Naruto, Yamato, and Guy were on their way to an island to meet the 8-tailed Jinchuriki, and for Naruto to master a new form. Now I'm gonna exclude all the filler, so we go to Naruto and B entering the Tailpiece fighting room thing that I forgot the name of. Now Yamato was with them, and he was rather worried for Naruto. What if something went wrong? Could he be taken over? But Naruto was confident. He had always been holding back, so this could be a good chance to finally let it all go and fight. Naruto still pulled the head chopped off trick on Yamato, which had both Naruto and Bee wheezing, but Yamato hit them both on the head, quickly quieting them down, and they continued on, finally moving into the room, where Naruto would face his hardest challenge yet. Now this time Naruto won't even have the help of Kushina, his back then his mother in the original story, so it'll all be himself fighting his inner demons. We cut to before this happened. Bee and Naruto had just arrived with Yamato, and Naruto sat down before the waterfall and started to meditate. Almost instantly, a red-eyed version of him walked out, telling him, "You can't fight me this time. Our fighting styles is the same, just not. Our fighting style is the same. We are the same." But the original Naruto only replied with, "I know, but I'm not going to fight you. Just not physically. But I am going to fight you, just not physically." And Naruto told him how he had already forgiven the villagers, and this was the only thing holding them back from achieving great things. But the red-eyed Naruto responded with, "We risked our lives to protect the village, and what do we get? We get a good amount of the villagers booing us just because of our appearance of being itchy and tricky." But Naruto just pulled him into a hug, and slowly the red-eyed version faded away, as we now fade to the current Naruto. Naruto was sitting down on the floor of the rather peculiar-looking room. Right before Naruto started to meditate, he bumped fists with V, then moved on to the mindscape, where he was now faced by a giant cage and fox. The Ninetales was very affectionate toward young Naruto, as he was like the spitting image of the Sage of Six Paths when he was young, the only difference being his personality and his looks do differ a bit. But of course, the Ninetales did not show this affectionate side of him, growling at Naruto. Even if he was like the Sage of Six Paths, he still needed to prove that he was powerful enough to handle this portion of his power. So when Naruto entered, he was still his usual grumpy and angry self, but inside he was glad to once again see the spinning image of his master. As Naruto finally removed the seal, Kurama screamed loud enough to have the entire mindscape shake as the fight began. Naruto almost instantly entered Sage mode, which surprised Kurama a bit actually, but he of course already knew about it, and this would just enhance his strength and sensing capabilities. So he created about 600 clones, which all had a ton of chakra. When the clones appeared, they all made an Odama Rasengan and flew at the Ninetales. But two were helping Naruto create his most powerful jutsu. It was silent until Windstyle, Rasen Shuriken. The Rasen Shuriken flew toward Kurama, causing him to get flung back. While the clones pinned him down, Naruto ran over there and tried to absorb the chakra, but the thing he was absorbing was a mix between the Ninetales chakram and its hatred and anger, which is overwhelming Naruto at first, but I can't let him take control. I just can't. How else can I protect my friends, my sensei? How else can I get back Sasuke? Naruto's power overwhelmed the Ninetales' hatred, as more of the steel containing his father's chakra broke loose, making Naruto much stronger, and Naruto in general was an incredibly strong being, letting him fully absorb the Ninetales chakra, making him one of, if not the first person to have entered this legendary state. Kurama Chakra Mode 1 has been achieved, and it did not look good for any enemies in the future, so when Naruto sensed Kisame, he instantly flew at him, rivaling even Minato with KCM1 and speeds, and almost fully wiped him out, leaving only about half his body intact, which sadly ruined the joke with Might Guy, but at least the threat was gone, and Samehara was now fully beast again. B was surprised at the power he now sensed from this young boy. He was only 16, and this power, truly incredible. Naruto walked out of the room in his newly found power, but he couldn't use the Bijodama yet, as the Nantel still wanted to see how great this kid could do with his power. Was he going to finally be the hero the world needed, or the dark that will take it over fully? Now I'm going to end this part off right here. I hope you all enjoyed. This was Rose Gold, and I am out. Hello everyone, this is Rose Gold, and today we're getting into part 8 of What If Naruto Wasn't Otsutsuki. Now, I know I'm doing this a lot, but you gotta believe me here. If you look at the growth of this channel, like this channel is experiencing, you would as well if you are in my position. So thank you all so much for the support. We've reached a quarter of a fucking thousand subscribers. Now I'm not gonna do all the percentage crap as a little thank you and not to waste your time, but you should join the Discord to interact with me and maybe follow me on Twitter. But without further ado, let's get straight into part 8. When Naruto left the waterfall, there stood a ton of Jonin and even Ambu, but a few Chunin as well. When Naruto saw this, he was rather surprised. Why were they all here until a particular Chunin stepped forth? Naruto, we can't let you go beyond this point. Naruto was confused. Naruto was still confused as he asked if anything was going on, but Iruka, the Chunin who had stepped forth, stayed silent, giving the Anbu and Jonin a guilty look, but they all nodded at him. We just cannot let you through. Our protagonist was starting to get mad. He had just learned to use this new power, which could be very useful, and wanted to use it in a mission or two as to test out his full capabilities. But the Jonin and Ambu stood their ground, not letting him pass until Naruto activated his Sage Mode and blitzed through all of them. Most of them were absolutely shell-shocked, but Iruka walked over, handing Naruto's head back to him, which made Naruto a bit happy, but suddenly Shadow Possession caught him. As he couldn't move until he really sensed what was going on in the outside world. Death, destruction, chaos. The Fourth Shinobi World War had started, and they were just trapping him here? Unacceptable. Naruto unleashed more of his latent power, blitzing out of there with B, as they made it to a place where they were met by both the Raikage and Hokage, A and Tsunade. Naruto was getting more and more annoyed. Did they really think that little of his power? When Tsunade stopped them, saying, "You won't get past here, Naruto. You're both too important to lose in the war." Tsunade had seen his Sage Mode, so she knew he probably already sensed what was going on, but Naruto brushed her off, starting to run. And when the Raikage went for a full power and speed punch, Naruto dodged it, without kissing him one, just Sage Mode, which surprised the Raikage so much that he almost fell to the ground. What kind of thing? No. What kind of being is he? But Naruto and B ignored them, quickly moving on to break the barrier, Naruto using a Rasengan and B a Tail Beast Bomb, until going on to help the war. Before Naruto actually did anything himself in the war, he made about 50 clones that were all a good amount stronger than the ones he made in the original series, that he all sent out in groups of three. Two were with him as well, just for protection, and they went off. But of course, before this, when the Bee and Naruto were going through the woods, Naruto still kinda ate that message Iruka left for him. We switched to the first group's perspective. There was the third Raikage who was facing off against a lot of ninja and doing surprisingly well. Suddenly, the clones arrived at speeds, making even the third Raikage gasp for a second, until the fight began. As two of the clones were fending off the third Raikage quite well, the third clone took some information in, and being a ton smarter than the original, almost instantaneously figured out the third Raikage's weakness after hearing the story about the Eight-Tails, which made him make a quick Rasengan, and so did all the other clones, which pretended to hit him at some point that would get his arm in the perfect position, and the third clone flew at the Raikage with his Rasengan, making his arm go straight into his wound, making him lose the fight. But while he lost the fight, he gained respect for the new hero of the ninja world, Naruto Otsutsuki. The other clones quickly wiped out the rest of the threats as well. Whilst this was going on, the last group of clones, who were sent to some place in the sand, had now seen the terror that was Maruo Uchiha, as he tore through all the ninjas themselves. As to give Naruto they suddenly proved themselves as to give Naruto the information he needed, which he passed through all the clones until letting them all prove and gaining their newfound information as well, which could help out in the future if he was lucky. When Naruto finally arrived at the battlefield, there were the reanimated Jinchuriki, he was able to fight off rather easily, while they weren't in any tailed beast form in KCM1. But once they all transformed into their full tailed beast mode, it was rather difficult, even with B with them, to do so. But now the Ninetales had seen enough and forced Naruto into the mindscape. When Kurama actually smiled at Naruto, the protagonist got the message, opening the seal completely, and finally achieving KCM2 after welcoming the Ninetales as a new member of the Leaf Village Alliance. Finally achieving KCM2, he was able to really easily do what he did in the original series, so he removed the chakra robots almost instantaneously, only in mere seconds, until Obito pulled them all into the Ghetto Mazo and jumped down to finally fight the boy, who reminded him so much of his past self. But for now, he was still the mastermind, not Obito. And the fight went similar to normal, just that Naruto was able to dodge his attacks more easily, and the Rasengan, which finally ended up destroying the mask that had covered Obito's face for so long, had more impact. But the most impact was felt by no other than Kakashi. Kakashi had now seen his friend, who should have died so long ago, appearing right before his eyes. How? How did something like this happen? Kakashi thought to himself. Obito was always such a kind boy, and now he was the battle boss to end everyone who was fighting right now. When Obito saw his old friend, he smiled at him psychotically, then jumped up, finally letting the Gedomazu fully absorb all the tail beasts there, except for the 8 and 9 tails, of course, and completely let it transform. It looked a bit gruesome as the Gedomazu morphed into the being that terrified almost everyone here. A tail beast that had the power to destroy all of them in a single blast. And when it finally shot a tail beast bomb, someone teleported it a while away as the fourth Hokage showed up. While Naruto was amazed to see him, Minato wasn't really his father, but he was still his idol, so he still smiled. But he didn't say too much since he was a bit shy, except smiling at him until a hand patted him on the head. When he turned around, there stood the reanimated Hakuro Otsutsuki. Now I'm going to end this part off right here, so I hope you all enjoyed. I spent a lot of time on this, so please subscribe and join the Discord below. This was Rose Gold, and I am out. Hello everyone, this is Rose Gold, and today we're getting into part 9 of What If Naruto Was an Otsutsuki. Now I recommend you all who haven't done so yet to join the Discord to get sneak peeks at new thumbnails and so you can talk to me. It is in the description down below. But now let's get straight into part 9 of What If Naruto Was an Otsutsuki. Now as Naruto stares at Hakura Otsutsuki, emotions overwhelm him as he flies toward his father, hugging him tightly, making his dad look like a squished tomato until he let go. The Otsutsuki, and by that I mean Hakuro, only had about 50% of his power right now, because he had sealed almost everything into his son, who he now sees has made a good chunk of that chakra he had left for him his own. But Naruto's own chakra was starting to rival even his, which made Hakuro smirk. Once more, but then he pointed at the Ten Tails. Now, once we're all reanimated, it is time for us to battle this beast. After all the other Hokage had assembled, the Otsutsuki walked over to them, and by Otsutsuki I once again mean Hakuro, greeting them all, who saw the immense power in this man. That was probably only a chunin, as he didn't tell anyone of his secrets. After talking maybe a second or two or so, they realized that they had spent too much time talking, and the Ten Tails had already spit out another one of its incredibly destructive tail beast bombs, which flew toward the headquarters, destroying it. But not before they all gave them an emergency plan that Shikamaru put to good use, giving everyone the info with the telepathy until a giant boom could be heard and the headquarters were gone, giving everyone a new motivation to revenge the fallen brethren. When Naruto stood up, the Hokage had gone over there to complete a barrier, whilst Naruto was with his father, till a whoosh could be heard behind them. There stood Naruto's rival, but also best friend, Sasuke Uchiha. When Hakuro saw him, he sighed at the sight of the Uchiha. Was it another one who strived so far from the path of good? But right now they didn't have enough time to talk, and enough time to think as the barrier was completed, but the Ten Tails was already making its next bomb, which is actually blocked by the barrier, showing how strong the Hokage truly were, making something similar to a chimney, smoke pouring out the top. Now we skip ahead to about when the barrier was gone, and now only their power could do anything. Sakura was with Tsunade making the slugs and healing people, whilst Naruto and Sasuke were fighting against some wooden spikes which were flying all around, defending the people who didn't have enough power to defend themselves, until Neji had to body block a wooden spike for Naruto and Hinata. which in this way was more in this what if was way more impactful, as Neji was the one who'd always called him a failure and scoffed at his looks before the fight they had, but now he was the one person who believed in him to save the world. As Neji died, Naruto's motivation to protect got stronger, but so did his want for revenge. But seeing how Obito turned out, he knew that he couldn't let the feeling of needing revenge away and only to protect. He needed to push it away. When Naruto finally managed to coordinate his attack with Sasuke, they actually hit the Ten Tails, but sadly it didn't do as much damage as they had hoped. But when Obito saw what was going on, he performed a particular sealing jutsu, sealing the Ten Tails inside of him, but not before reanimating Madara, who then went on to fight with a wood clone of Hashirama, and then even the real deal, as he had already done his part and just waited for Obito to get defeated. So I'm just gonna gloss over the fight with Obito, as it goes similar to normal, just that Obito gets defeated more quickly, because of Naruto's power increase. But when Obito finally had the tailed piece removed from him, Madara quickly pulled them back into the Gedo Mazo. Whilst Naruto tried to stop this from happening, Madara killed Naruto almost instantaneously before throwing him to the ground, where Sand picked up the now dying Naruto and rushed him over to Sakura and Sasuke. Sasuke, seeing this, was actually enraged. Whilst he tried to hide it to the best of his abilities, he still cared deeply about Naruto, who was like a brother to him, and seeing someone take his one and only friend's life like this made him throw his sword at Madara quickly, running after it until Madara grabbed that exact sword and stabbed him in the gut with it. When Madara was done with them both, he went on to perform the sealing jutsu Obito had just used before to seal the Ten Tails into himself, achieving everything necessary for the Eye of the Moon plan. But first, he had some more pests to deal with that could create some problems with the plan. Might Guy still opened the eighth gate and started giving Madara the hands. His bones quickly cracked and even snapped at some places until he lay there, burnt to a crisp. But this fight would have had Madara dead if he didn't have the healing that Yin Yang release provided to him. But at least Obito was able to Kamui away the last attack that Madara threw at Guy to finish him off. Obito had now switched sides, but back at Naruto and Sasuke's point of view, we see them both talking to a particular sage who was quite excited to speak to Naruto because of their particular resemblance, until he gave them the power to finally defeat Madara and even Kaguya Otsutsuki, and seal the Ten Tails away for good. When Guy was about to die, and now almost fully healed Naruto arrived at the battlefield once more, actually healing Guy with a powerful Yin Yang release medical ninjutsu, until staring at Madara finally activating his new form. Six Path Sage Mode combined with the Cubic Cloak and combined with his own chakra made for a form that was almost unbeatable for almost everyone. When Sasuke returned, you could feel his strength and even see it with his new dojutsu, the Rinnegan, but it actually had Tomoe in it. Before they could say anything, Madara decided to finally go through with the Eye of the Moon plan, hoping to catch these ninjas in it as well as to achieve true world peace. But Sasuke Susanoo was able to protect him and his back then team, including Obito, who was right now possessed by Zetsu, so he was behind Madara. Now it was them against Madara, but suddenly a hand went through Madara's chest as Zetsu finally revealed his plan, unleashing Kaguya upon the world. Well, like before, I'm not going to bore you with the fight, but it went much faster than the original, as Naruto's power was so immense that it would be actually able to match it in taijutsu with everything. So they performed the sealing jutsu. When the Sage of Six Paths finally appeared in the physical world, the Hokage and Hakuro finally disappeared, going into the afterlife once more, but not until they all wished Naruto a happy 17th birthday, and Naruto still told his father about what to tell his mother, which caused Hakuro to smile and go into the afterlife happily. Now, when Sasuke and Naruto fought like the original, Naruto was winning, until Sasuke got fully used to his Rinnegan abilities, and Naruto, of course, was still holding back a bit while fighting him, until the last Rasengan and Chidori clash, which had both of their arms blown off like the original. And after this entire series, they finally made peace, Naruto marrying Hinata like the original, and Sasuke marrying Sakura like the original. Now, I really hope you all enjoyed the series. I definitely enjoyed making it. But for now, I'll be taking a little break from YouTube, as I have made like 9 full-length videos over 9 days. So please forgive me. This was Rose Gold, and I am out for now.